Hey everyone, I'm working to hit 1,000 subscribers and I need your help to get there. If you enjoy this content, please hit that subscribe button right now.
Denver, buckle up, because Broncos is about to drop a prediction so bold, it might just break the internet. What if I told you that Jaylen Waddle, a receiver who has spent his entire career playing second fiddle, stuck behind a superstar and shackled to one of the worst starting quarterbacks in football last season, is about to have the single greatest year of his career? Not a good year. Not a solid year. An all-pro, league turning heads. How did we sleep on this guy type of season? And it's not just a hunch. There's a blueprint sitting right in front of us from last season, and once you see it, you cannot unsee it. So grab your coffee, grab your popcorn, because we are diving deep into the tape, the numbers, and the wild web of connections that ties Jaylen Waddle's future directly to a receiver who just had a career year in Dallas. This is Broncos, and we're breaking down why Broncos country might be sitting on the best receiver duo they've had in franchise history. Let's set the stage. Last season, a receiver named George Pickens did something special in the Dallas Cowboys offense. We're talking numbers that, if you just glanced at them without context, you would swear belong to one of the top 5 receivers in the entire NFL. 93 catches, 1,429 yards, 15.5 yards a pop, 9 touchdowns. And get this, only 4 drops all season. That is elite, borderline, surgical production. But here's where it gets juicy. When you strip away the box score and dig into the advanced numbers, Pickens wasn't just good, he was historically dominant in one very specific area. Against man coverage, one-on-one, nobody in the entire league did more damage than George Pickens. Not close. He outproduced the next closest guy, Zay Flowers, by over 100 yards. 100 yards. That's not a gap. That's a canyon. And if that wasn't enough, Pickens also finished second in the entire NFL in games with 140 or more receiving yards. Only Puka Nacua had more, and just barely. So why are we spending all this time talking about a Dallas Cowboys receiver on a channel about the Denver Broncos? Because Broncos believes George Pickens is the exact preview of what Jaylen Waddle is about to become, and the reasoning is almost too perfect. See, Waddle has never actually had a full runway to show what he can do. For years, he was stuck in the shadow of one of the most explosive receivers of this generation in Miami. And even after that receiver moved on, Waddle was left throwing passes with a quarterback who, let's just say, had a rough go of it. We're talking a 67% completion rate that sounds fine on paper, 2,660 yards, 20 touchdowns, but also 15 interceptions, and one of the worst quarterback ratings of any starter in football. That quarterback didn't just struggle, he got released outright, walking away from a $99 million cap hit. Let that sink in. A team was willing to eat that kind of money just to move on. That is how bad things had gotten. And through all of that mess, Waddle still managed to be one of the more productive receivers in the league. Now imagine peeling that anchor off his ankle. This is where the Pickens comparison becomes so delicious. Just like Pickens finally got paired with a quarterback who could actually push the ball down the field and trust him in one-on-one situations, Waddle is stepping into a completely new offensive world in Denver. One where the quarterback play is on a completely different level than what he's dealt with for years. Broncos is calling it right now. This is a marriage that was destined to happen. Waddle needed a real passer, and the Broncos needed a legitimate alpha receiver who can win from anywhere on the field. It's the perfect storm. But here's the twist, and this is where things get really interesting for Broncos fans. Waddle and Pickens are not actually the same type of receiver, not even close. When you pull up Pickens' target chart, it's all sideline shots and go routes, the classic jump ball receiver who wins deep and up the boundary. He's the guy you throw it up to and just trust him to go get it. Waddle is the exact opposite. His target map lights up right through the middle of the field. He's a yak monster, the type of player who catches a short or intermediate pass in space and then turns it into an explosive gain with pure speed and elusiveness. Different tools, same outcome, touchdowns and headaches for opposing defenses. And once Broncos noticed that difference, something clicked. If Pickens is a boundary bomber and Waddle is a middle-of-the-field burner, then who on the current Broncos roster actually plays like Pickens? The answer is sitting right there in the receiver room already, Courtland Sutton. Sutton's game, the contested catches, the sideline wins, the physical battles against corners, mirrors Pickens almost identically. Some might call it a slightly toned-down version. Sure, Pickens may have the edge right now, but the archetype is unmistakable. And if Sutton is this team's George Pickens, then Waddle slides in as this roster's version of a receiver who might sound familiar too, CeeDee Lamb. Go ahead and pull up Lamb's target chart from Dallas and set it right next to Waddle's. It is almost a mirror image. Both live and thrive in the middle of the field, both turn short completions into chunk plays, both are nightmares in space. Denver may have unknowingly built a carbon copy of Dallas's devastating 1-2 punch, except this version comes with a fresh set of legs and a whole lot of untapped upside. So there you have it. Sutton is your win at the boundary bruiser, and Waddle is your yak assassin over the middle. That is about as complete a duo as you can build at the receiver position, and defensive coordinators around the league should already be losing sleep over it. Now, here's where Broncos has to pump the brakes for a second, because as exciting as the top of this receiver room is, there is real drama brewing underneath it. Everybody assumes the 1 and 2 spots are locked in with Sutton and Waddle, but the third receiver spot? That is wide open, and it might not go the way people expect. The popular pick heading into this offseason was Troy Franklin, the young receiver who broke out in year 2 and looked like the clear heir apparent. But dig into the route participation numbers from last season, and a totally different name starts jumping off the page: Pat Bryant. Check this out. By week 13, Bryant was already running more routes than Franklin, 36-30. Then in week 14, the gap widened even further, 27 routes for Bryant compared to just 16 for Franklin. And keep in mind, Bryant was dealing with a hamstring injury and a concussion for stretches of the season, which absolutely should have limited his workload. Even banged up, the coaching staff kept trusting him with more snaps than the guy who was supposed to be the clear-cut wide receiver 3. That is not a coincidence. That is a coaching staff quietly signaling who they believe in, and it's not just the numbers. Remember, this front office specifically drafted Pat Bryant because his game reminded them of Michael Thomas, one of the smoothest route runners and most reliable hands in recent NFL history. That comparison did not come from some random analyst on Twitter. It came directly from the head coach himself. When your head coach is comparing a rookie to a former All-Pro before he's even played a full season, you better believe there's a plan in motion. Bryant's game backs it all up too. He's not the burner, he's not the sideline acrobat, he wins with footwork, with precision, with the ability to separate in a tight 5-yard window and simply not drop the football. And drops were an actual problem for this receiver room last season. Troy Franklin led the way with issues in that department, tied for near the top of the roster in drops through just the first 12 weeks. Bryant, on the other hand, finished the year with only 4 drops total, showing off some of the most reliable hands anywhere on the roster. When your head coach is out here saying things like "this guy is a quick study," he picks things up fast, his feet stay on the ground when he catches the football, he's got strong hands even in traffic, you don't just brush that off. This is a franchise practically begging you to pay attention to Pat Bryant. Now let's talk about the guy caught in the middle of all this, Troy Franklin. To be clear, this is not a case of Franklin being a bust or a disappointment. The man had a legitimately strong second season, took a real step forward, and was arguably this offense's second most productive receiver behind Sutton. But adding a true number 1 alpha receiver into that room changes the math for everybody, and Franklin knows it. When asked directly about the pressure of a big name coming into his position group, Franklin didn't dodge the question. He got real about it, admitting that any receiver in that situation would naturally feel the weight of a new addition, especially one getting paid at a much higher level. But he also made it clear he's not backing down from the challenge, calling himself hyper-competitive and someone who knows exactly what he's capable of on the field. That is the mentality of a guy who isn't going to just fade quietly into a smaller role, he's going to fight for every target he can get. So where does that leave Franklin? Broncos believes his path forward is as a hybrid slot weapon, leaning into the role he's already shown flashes of. His slot usage jumped significantly from his rookie year into year 2, and with his explosive first step off the line of scrimmage, he's built to create matchup nightmares against bigger, slower nickel corners and safeties. He may not be the big physical boundary receiver some hoped he'd become, but as a lightning-quick slot threat working alongside Waddle, who can honestly line up anywhere on the field, that combination could be absolutely electric. And that's really the story here, isn't it? This receiver room isn't just deep, it's a puzzle with pieces that fit together in a way that should terrify opposing defensive coordinators. You've got a legitimate boundary bully in Courtland Sutton, You've got a game-breaking, yak machine in Jaylen Waddle who can align anywhere on the field. You've got a quietly ascending route technician in Pat Bryant who might already have the coaching staff's trust more than anyone realizes. And you've got a hungry, chip-on-his-shoulder Troy Franklin ready to carve out his own space in the slot. That's before we even mention the special teams value that keeps someone like Marvin Mims firmly in the mix. Put it all together, and this is not just a receiver room with talent, it's a receiver room with layers, versatility, and a genuine embarrassment of riches. If defenses commit extra attention to Waddle, Sutton eats them alive on the boundary. If they double Sutton, Waddle turns a 5-yard checkdown into a 50-yard sprint to the end zone. And if either of those two somehow get slowed down, Pat Bryant and Troy Franklin are lurking underneath, ready to make plays of their own. This is the type of receiver room that championship offenses are built around, and Broncos fully believes we are about to watch Jaylen Waddle put together the best season of his career while doing it. So mark this moment down, Broncos Nation, because Broncos is calling it loud and clear. Jaylen Waddle is walking into the perfect situation at the perfect time. And by the time this season wraps up, we might be talking about him in the same breath as the league's very best receivers. The pieces are all there. The blueprint already worked in Dallas. Now it's Denver's turn to run it back. If you enjoyed breaking this down with us, do not scroll away just yet. Smash that like button so this video reaches more Broncos fans who need to see this breakdown. Drop a comment right now and tell us, do you believe Waddle is heading for an all-pro season? Or are you still holding out for Troy Franklin to prove everybody wrong? And if you have not already done it, hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications, because Broncos is bringing you breakdowns just like this one all season long, right through the playoffs, and hopefully all the way to a Super Bowl run. Thanks for watching, Broncos Country. This has been Broncos, and we will see you in the next one.